Hearing the news that a loved one has been diagnosed with breast cancer comes with so many emotions, not only for the patient, but also for caregivers and loved ones. It's so important to learn how to best support the patient during this very difficult time, because no one should have to go through this alone. And that's why we're here to talk about this so important topic. Hi, everyone. I'm Olga Villaverde, your host for today's discussion, coming to you live from the Baptist Health Newsroom. I'm truly honored to be here today because this conversation truly matters, and we are recognizing breast cancer awareness. I'd like to welcome three beautiful ladies. ROSEMARY CARRERA. She is a breast cancer survivor and founder of 305 Pink Hack. Great to see you, ROSEMARY.
You too. Thanks for having me.
CARLA Walker, a breast cancer survivor. Pleasure to have you, and pleasure to see you again, CARLA.
Nice to see you as well. Thank you for having me.
And then Darcy McNally. She's the Director of Oncology Support Services and Community Outreach at Baptist Health Lynn Cancer Institute. Happy to have you as well, Darcy.
Thanks for the invitation.
So we have so many great things to talk about. Before we dive into today's subject, I want to remind our viewers to send in your questions and comments throughout the segment. We would love to hear from you. Happy to answer your questions, any concerns you may have, or maybe just want to share something with us. You are always welcome to do so. Okay, so ROSEMARY, I'm going to start with you. When someone gets diagnosed with breast cancer, you start to think of ways to help them, right? It's just the initial thing that a person wants to do. So as a survivor yourself, what are some ways to offer support to a loved one that is currently undergoing treatment that best helped you out and other women out?
So I think that one thing that you have to keep in mind is that when someone's first diagnosed, that time is really overwhelming. So you may reach out and offer help. They may not get back to you right away because there's so many things going on. But if you really want to help, keep asking, keep being there for them. Send texts, say, hey, I'm here to help you. And the practical things are what make the most sense. So if someone has children, take the kids out for a play date, bring by groceries, offer to pick someone up from school. The practical things are what become real challenges, especially for people who don't have a lot of family support in place.
And we're looking at some beautiful pictures of you. I'm going to assume that's your handsome husband and your child as well. And I think that's really important, CARLA, to talk about, because sometimes there are people that want to be vocal. And my best friend was diagnosed about a year ago, and she was vocal about it. And yet there are other people that just want some silence, and one has to respect that as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very hard to break the news to people that you have breast cancer. And I found that you have to learn how to tell them what they need to know, not necessarily all of everything. There's a very different situation telling a 10-year-old about breast cancer and your diagnosis and your treatment plan than it is telling your spouse or your grandparent. They'd be entirely different conversations. So sometimes you have to limit.
And CARLA, what are some tips you would say could be helpful to break that news that there's been a diagnosis?
I just had an opportunity to sit down with my family. I had one of my sisters accompany me to an MRI. And when I got the news, it was over the telephone. As much as you might think you want to go to the office, if you get that telephone call in the office to come in, it's not as good. But having somebody there, maybe to hold your hand, can help you to break that news. Having the opportunity, having a little bit of a plan also helped. Like if you had a few of the answers, because people will ask questions and you can't necessarily just say, I don't know. They don't understand that. They want to know things. They want to know how to help. They want to know how you got this, but it can be difficult to give them all the answers. Sometimes you don't have all of it.
And with time, you can find those answers. Absolutely, CARLA. Darcy, being the Director of Oncology of Support Services, which the title says it all, support, the cost of treatment, you and I know, everyone knows, can be sometimes so much stress for the patient as well as the family. Are there financial resources that are offered that can help guide the family through this? And I know everything is not money, but even me, where my brother just was diagnosed with cancer and passed away just last week, there was a lot of stress with those financial bills that were coming in. And at the end of the day, it's a reality.
Right. So first of all, I am so sorry for your loss. Most importantly, I think that, you know, the first thing I always say to everybody is that you need to be self-determined, that you need to be in control. Everybody's insurance is different. And so I always tell my patients, first and foremost, you need to call your insurance company, look at the back of your card, tell them what's going on, find out if they have their own advocates that you talk to on a regular basis about things. If you're at a cancer center, like our cancer centers, we have financial counselors. And so for any of those internal bills, if they need payment plans, if they need to understand the cost of treatments and all of that, we work with our financial counselors. And then for the outside community resources where we have the social work team, we'll connect them with whatever community resources that we know. And every county has different ones. So for me to get into the details of what I'm doing in Palm Beach County will be different than Broward or Miami, but there are a lot of community resources out there, and it's definitely worth applying for, because I can tell you, we have been able to help a lot of patients pick up electric bills, their mortgage or their rent or a car payment. So I definitely think if you're at a comprehensive cancer center, having the financial counselors and the social workers be your advocates is very useful as well.
And let me ask you this, because I have a question from a viewer, and Carla, I'm going to get to you, but how can someone find out those services? Because if someone's listening and saying, okay, where do I go?
Right. So again, if you're going to a private doctor's office to get treatment, you might not have as much of that, in which case you might want to call your local American Cancer Society, or across the country, there's an organization called the Patient Advocate Foundation. They're almost like a clearinghouse where they'll find out where you live and they'll tell you all the different organizations. But specifically when you're talking about your particular cancer center and where you're being treated, I think it's very important that you make sure that you ask if they have a financial counselor that you can speak with, and if they have any social workers on the team that could meet with them.
Great information. Carla.
That was an experience that my daughter had. Her husband told his coworkers, and they said, you know, you should ask if there's any financial help. And the corporation that he worked with actually paid their mortgage 3 months. So it's out there.
My goodness, that's great to hear. Rosemary?
Yeah, if you look at our website, if you go to 305pinkpack.org, we have a listing of financial resources that are available. And there's a number of programs that offer assistance with paying rent, utilities, other expenses as you go through treatment, as well as patient advocate listings where you can call someone if you have insurance questions and they can figure those out for you, because when you're going through treatment, it's impossible to think about these things. We also have a search engine that if you put in your zip code, it will give you a listing of the services that are specifically available in your area.
And that's great to note. And I'm so glad you all chimed in on that, because as someone who went through it as well with my brother, it's not something that was top of mind at the moment, but as the time just started escaping us, we started seeing the reality. So it's things that people really need to talk about and find out. And there are resources. I mean, the mortgage payment, can you imagine? That's amazing, Carla. Or things that Darcy has mentioned as well, and Rosemary. Thank you, ladies. Carla, I want to go back to you. Not everybody knows your story. I do, because we met at an amazing breast cancer event the other day. It was very unique. I'd like you to briefly touch upon that and just how all of the family just came together to support.
Well, I come from a very large family, one of 5 girls and 1 boy. And I'm the 4th of 5 daughters to have breast cancer. So for me, it wasn't a matter of if I would have breast cancer, it was a matter of when I would have breast cancer. So I had a very tight bond, and I had a great resource in my sisters to navigate through that.
Rosemary,
do you want me to go further?
No, absolutely. Tell me a little more about just what they did and how they supported you. And Rosemary, I'm going to touch upon it with you as well.
So after my diagnosis, which was in February of 2019, in March, I had my surgery, and I had one of my daughters. I have identical twin daughters, my husband and I, and one of them came to help me. helped me prepare and helped me work through a bilateral mastectomy. So she was there 2 months later, not even 2 months, I guess about 6 weeks later, one of the girls was diagnosed with breast cancer. And 8 months after that, the daughter who came to help me was diagnosed with breast cancer. So we actually had 3 of us, my immediate family, going through mastectomies, hysterectomies, oophorectomies, the whole 9 yards, reconstruction surgery, all of that. And we were in 3 different towns. And then, of course, COVID hit and nobody could see each other. So we had a bit of a challenge, but we managed to get through. We used each other as a resource, as a sounding board. It was very nice to be able to go to my sisters to ask them questions. How is the recovery going to be? What is it going to be like in a relationship? And in a relationship was really challenging. I realized that I had my sister with me to all of my appointments. And the night before my surgery, my initial surgery, my husband asked me if I was going to be on Keytruda. And I said, I don't have metastatic breast cancer. I'm not going to be on this. He goes, oh, and I realized I had never taken him to an appointment with me. I had taken my sister, who was a nurse, who was there for all of my decisions. And he's wondering, what am I going to be like? And I realized, my gosh, I left him out of some of the biggest decisions of my life. He accepted. He said he would take it. He was fine with anything I did. I took him at his word, boy, I'll tell you, but now I drag him to all my appointments.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Rosemary. Kind of like the same question with support and how everybody advocated for you. And then I also want you to touch upon what you did for you. How did you take care of Rosemary?
Well, I was really fortunate to have an incredible support system with my family. I have all of my immediate family here in Miami. So in-laws, my parents, my grandmother's here, my sister. Our daughter was only 8 months old when I was diagnosed. And so they really came together and just took over our lives completely. So we didn't have to worry about childcare or cleaning my house or doing laundry or driving me to appointments, because there was always somebody available to do that. And that was really, really incredible. And the support was overwhelming, to say the least, but it was what I needed. I really only had to focus on sleeping and eating, and that was really, really hard to do. I actually had to stop working because my brain completely fried from chemo, and I had to walk away from my career. But I've found other things as a result, and it's been okay. I've managed to work around it. During that time, I really couldn't do anything for myself to feel better about myself. It was just a matter of taking advantage of the days that were good and giving into the days that were bad. But now's the time, 4 years later, when I'm finally feeling okay, I can start to really get back into the groove of things. I can start to exercise the way I want to and really start to live my life again, because it just takes time, and everybody's different. Some people bounce back right away. Some people, it takes much longer.
And Darcy, I want to bounce off of what she just said, because it's so important to be mindful of our overall health during treatment and even after. Talk about nutrition. I mean, the support is paramount. She said she slept and she ate, which is great, but nutrition, especially during treatment.
So I think that, our mantra here is that we're treating the whole person. We're not just treating a body part. And nutrition is a really important part of it. We are very fortunate through the Baptist Cancer programs that we do have oncology certified registered dietitians that are available to meet with patients. And that is available to them at no charge as a part of their complementary care. But I do also always caution my patients that although information is empowering, they should be very careful not to use Dr. Google to learn all of their facts. And that I don't believe in all or nothing thinking. If I have to spend one more day telling people that sugar doesn't have to be the enemy. But there are 3 evidence-based facts that I share with my patients each week in my breast clinic that they can do to empower them to reduce their risk of recurrence. One is to exercise, if possible, daily, at least 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be a marathon, but it could be just 30 minutes of walking. One is to limit your alcohol intake. And the final thing is to maintain a healthy BMI. And those 3 things put you back in the driver's seat, give you some control, and make you a participant in your wellness.
And you talked about resources that are free of charge. If someone is watching, again, the first thing I can think of is they say, how do I get that? Where do I go? Darcy?
So depends upon what cancer program you're going to. Where I work at the Lynn Cancer Institute, they would call our main number and ask for a dietitian, and they're able to see them as frequently as they need to get their nutritional support and questions answered.
Excellent. Carla, two questions for you.
I use some of those services, and I signed up through it, or not that I signed up, but I was led there by I guess it was my plastic surgeon that sent me that direction.
And mine was my chemo nurse offered it to me, and I had the appointment right as I was doing chemo.
And we do that all the time.
I think the bottom line is you got to ask, you got to talk, you have to inquire.
And since you both did, Carla, let me start with you, and then Rosemary, please chime in. How helpful was it, Carla?
It was wonderful. I used not only the dietary, I actually didn't jive very well with the first dietitian. So I said, you know what, that's okay. You don't have to jive with everybody. I went and I got a second one. And, I made an appointment with another person and we did very well together. And then I moved into exercise physiologist, and I moved into the massage therapy, and I even had acupuncture. And I also saw, because I did struggle mentally with my diagnosis was kind of a piece of cake, but having my children diagnosed was another thing. I saw a mental health care professional all through the Cancer Institute, and it was wonderful to have it all right under one rooftop. That's what Baptist Health Cancer Care does.
Rosemary?
I agree. I went through the same thing. I went through the massage therapy that I would get during radiation to try to loosen everything up more. I saw the nutritionist who helped tremendously. I thought I ate healthy before, but it made me very conscious of bringing more vegetables into my meals on a daily basis, and knowing that the occasional ice cream is okay. It's not a big deal. And afterwards, trying to get my strength back was an amazing program through the survivorship program with the exercise physiologist. But then COVID hit, so we had to switch things up a little bit. But the progress that I saw during the time that I was able to work with him at the gym, it was incredible.
And I just thought of something, and I'd like all three of you to give me some thoughts on this. But I'm like you, where I would seek the help. I'm very vocal. I'm very open. Everybody knows that I just say it all. But what about, Darcy, for example, someone that says, no, I can deal with this on my own. And yet they know they need the help, and they just don't know where to start. I'd like you all to maybe help me there, because not everybody is so, over it like we are.
We try to have the philosophy at the Cancer Institute that I'm at here in Palm Beach County that I tell all of my patients, because I see all the breast patients, like, I forced myself on you once. And that first time I sit down with them and they're always like, why am I meeting with the social worker? And I'm like, because we're treating the whole person. And I want to know a little bit about you, but I want you to know about what we have available to you. And then you can pick and choose what you want to avail yourself of. But if you don't know it exists, then you're not going to know to ask for it. And I run through the entire orientation of the programming, from the massage and the acupuncture and the exercise and the nutrition and the support groups and the one-on-one counseling. So they know all of the different resources that are available. And then if in the future, a doctor or a nurse or another medical team thinks that somebody's struggling, but they're not reaching out, they'll trigger us to reach out to them again anyway. That's
fantastic. Carla.
So my plastic surgeon sent me upstairs, and that's the case that it was at Miami Cancer Institute. They sent me upstairs to see the exercise physiologist because I had problems with my shoulders. And he said, I think you need to get into some type of exercise plan. So I went that way. And then I discovered all of the third floor. So I think if you talk to your doctor, or your doctor makes that request for you, and that's the case that he did. He said, I think you need some physical therapy. That's how it opened the door for me. It was just by saying, I can't move my shoulder.
And I love the way she said,
unintentionally.
I love the way you said, I discovered. And Rosemary, that's something that we all can discover when we allow to walk through that door.
Absolutely. And like she said, you have to be vocal about what you're experiencing, the good and the bad, because your doctors need to know everything that's going on. And then that way they can make the proper referral. But a great way about knowing about all these services is that when you start your treatment at through Baptist, you get a packet that's full of all the things that they offer. And it's really overwhelming to go through all of that at the beginning, but keep it, hold on to it. And when you have those nights with insomnia that you just can't find anything to do, go back and read those, because there's a lot of great information in there. And I didn't even realize it until after the fact that I had gotten all that. I was like, oh yeah, there's that packet. Look at that. So it's there. You just put it aside and read it when you have time.
That's fantastic. Darcy, I know there's a lot of people also out there that say, well, I don't have anyone going through this right now, but are there ways to donate to help fund these programs? Because there are ways to help.
So, I mean, obviously, in the cancer, there's tons of resources and tons of organizations, and people can pick and choose. And as we alluded to at the beginning of the financial resources, you can look at any one of those. At our particular cancer institute, the fund that we call it up here for philanthropy is called League of Ribbons. And what we do, and it's not just for breast cancer, it's for all cancers. This month it's pink, but and the monies that people donate in underwrite gas and grocery cards for patients that might be under financial distress while they're going through treatment, because not everybody can afford to pay all of those copays and with what gas prices are. So we'll meet with social workers, we'll give them that through that fund. That fund also underwrites the art therapist that we bring in, and the music therapist that we bring in, and the massage therapist and the acupuncture, so that all of those services are underwritten and are complementary to the patients. And we do all of the fundraising on the back end from our generosity of our community to help our patients get through it all.
So important to give back. That's so important. I have a question. I actually have two from viewers that I want to ask, and you all can honestly answer. They're fantastic questions. One person writes, you never want your family to feel like they have to help you with certain things. How can people navigate setting boundaries with their family members? I'm going to start with you, Rosemary.
You have to be upfront with them. You have to tell them right from the beginning. And if there's something that's bothering you, you have to tell them. I'll give you one example. When I was trying to rest after chemo and I was asleep in a deep, profound sleep, my husband would come over and check my temperature every 10 minutes and wake me up until I finally was like, stop, let me sleep. So once we had that conversation and I was like, I'm fine, I will let you know if I need something, then we were okay. But you have to be open with them.
Great example. Carla.
So I experienced a lot of help. Things like my sister would come over and she would empty the dishwasher and she would put all the dishes up on the shelf. Well, my dishes were sitting on the counter for a reason, because I couldn't raise my arm above my shoulder. So I had to say to her, please don't put the dishes away. Leave 2 plates, leave 2 glasses. It's okay. I'm all right with the disarray of that. But so you do have to, and I asked somebody one day, someone I would have never wanted to do this. I said, but you please just come in and change my sheets. Those are the things. So ask what you want and be honest with what you don't. Rosemary's absolutely correct.
It's communication, Darcy.
Yeah, so listen, I'm a therapist, so clearly it's all about the art of communication. Even so much so is that for some people, they don't want their entire identity to be cancer. And even that communication, if they're actually meeting with friends or family or going out, to say, today's a no cancer fly zone. I don't want to talk about cancer. Remember when you knew me before I had cancer, we talked about all these other things. I want to talk about all those other things. And sometimes it might be sending out a general email to everybody, giving everybody an update, so you're not pressing replay all the time and telling your same story and your updates over and over again, because it is kind of hard. But I do think that both of the women today articulated it beautifully, that it is communication. And unfortunately, a big portion of the onus of the communication comes from the patient, because the caregivers are like walking on eggshells.
Speaking of walking on eggshells, this is another great question from a viewer. And boy, did we go through this one as well. Sometimes I don't know what to say when I see a loved one going through treatment. People would just, I don't know what to say. I don't know what, and I get it. So Carla, what would you say to someone that says, I don't know what to say?
Tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. That's okay. You don't have to say anything. You can just listen.
Yes.
You don't have to say a word. Just tell them you love them. You're there for them. I'll help you in any way I can.
Oh,
That's what I would
beautiful.
say.
Beautiful. Rosemary?
Yeah, tell them you love them. I'm here for you. What do you need? And keep asking, what do you need? Because the needs change as you go through treatment. So you may be okay for the first few weeks, but after that, you really need somebody to come and help you fold laundry.
Darcy, what would you say?
I'm all about, slaying the elephant in the room that everybody's ignoring and say, I'm sitting here and I'm so stressed out because I don't know the right thing to say to you, but I'm here. So, because again, I think sometimes people want to talk and sometimes they don't. So just putting it out there.
So speaking of putting it out there, Carla has something. It's a crown that I want her to put her on. Put it on, just put it out there. When I
So
saw
the
it
way
last week,
I made it through my treatment was by having humor. And I felt that it was very important. And I found this on the internet. And I think
I can't.
that it is just perfect for, I don't think it wants to come into focus.
Here we go. Wait,
think it's
there you
just-
go. Don't move. Come a little closer. Come a little closer.
Okay.
Boom.
It's perfect. I mean, why else wouldn't you wear a bra on your head? You just had your breasts removed.
I
Put a
can't.
bra on your head.
I
Find
love
some
it.
humor in your day.
Look at the bling bling. I mean, it's just so perfect.
Thank you.
Darcy, how important is it to even find that humor? This is obviously not funny, but we know what she's saying.
100%. I think that, I'm not going through it, but I do think that humor, laughing, recognizing that we're allowed to have a full range of emotions at all times and that this doesn't have to be serious business. Once we can laugh at ourselves, I think people can laugh with us. And that's really important.
Rosemary.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of knowing that people are going to have different emotions and people are going to react to a diagnosis in very different ways. And whatever way you choose to go through your diagnosis is okay.
One more question, because I always like to ask one question to everyone. Darcy, obviously you can, elaborate on what you've heard would be the answer to this one, but Carla and Rosemary, what would you say is the one thing? I'm sure everybody did a lot of things, but the one thing that someone did during your treatment that you just want to share?
Change my sheets.
I love it.
It was a big deal.
That was like a hotel, right? Your sheets were ready.
Yeah. I wanted those sheets fresh and clean and you can't lift anything. And I wanted them tight. It was wonderful.
I love it. I can understand. Rosemary.
For me, it was really just keeping my daughter's life stable. Like they would make sure that her routine was normal, take her for play dates and make sure that she was just having as normal of her toddler time as possible.
I can see that being so important. Darcy, your thoughts on this question?
I think we talk about it in my support groups all the time. A lot of people don't feel as though there are people that come out of the woodwork that they didn't expect, and the people that they did expect kind of fell short. So never assume that you're interfering. Better to throw it out there, send the text, I'm thinking about you, I love you, and let them not respond and you don't take it personally, than to ghost people. People want to know that you're thinking about them, that they haven't been forgotten, and that the support is there.
Fantastic. Ladies, you are great. Carla, I have to ask, what size is that bra?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I just got it. She asked me what color. I said pink. Why not?
Well, it looks like the size I wish I had, but I don't. So we'll leave it there. God bless you all. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, Carla, Rosemary, Darcy. Thank you so much for your input. And I love the No Cancer Fly Zone. That was the best.
Thanks.
I love it.
Brilliant. Thank you.
God bless you,
Thank
ladies.
you all.
Thank you so much for your time. And of course, if you would like to connect with us, it is so easy. We have social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I don't have TikTok yet, but my girls tell me I have to get it. LinkedIn. Check out our resource blog for the latest news at baptisthealth.net/news. You'll find a link there to all the episodes of Baptist Health Talk podcast as well. On behalf of everyone at Baptist Health and on behalf of all these beautiful ladies, stay safe, stay healthy, and we thank you so much for watching. Take care. Wear pink.